Hey there, Pastor James here. So, the last few weeks we've been talking about fellowship and this close bonding that Jesus set the church up to operate on. And it's hard to imagine, but as we look back, we can see that at different times in the early church, they really did get it right. And it worked. And people saw who Jesus was through the way that people took care of each other and worked together toward something greater than themselves. And today, I just want to kind of parachute off of that for a second and get into this idea of having close friends like Paul was talking about and how Luke wrote about in the book of Acts. So just a personal look back, I was a terrible friend when I left high school and went out into the world to make my own life. And a lot of the people I knew or got to be friends with weren't really that awesome at being friends either. I think we all kind of had in common that there really wasn't any book or manual on how to be a great friend that we had read. We just assumed, just like a lot of people do, that being friends is just about finding somebody that you click with and that you like talking to and who wants to do some of the cool stuff that you want to do in your off time. There really wasn't any particular code about it. If you wanted to do something stupid and mess up your life, I'd be fine with helping you do it. Hey, you need a ride to go to the place that you should never be? Oh, okay, I'll take you. That was totally me. But as I left that time of my life and moved on, and I actually came to faith slowly but surely in that time and the post-high school, into college, after college time frame, I started to get connected with the church, and I heard the same things over and over about this idea of fellowship. And time again, people would say, well, you've really got to get into fellowship. You've got to get into some fellowship with some believers. And the way that I took that was, I was just expected to attend a lot of meetings. I was supposed to go to a Sunday service, and I was supposed to be there every single time, and I was supposed to go to a group, and I should be there every single time. And the way that it was billed to me, that was what fellowship is. And at different times, I kind of stopped, and to be fair, I was a little unimpressed because I kept saying to myself, if this is all there is, then is this really important? Because I'm not really that close with anybody here. I mean, I come and I come and I come, and maybe there's something about me. Maybe I'm just a little oversensitive or something. I don't know, but I don't really get that I'm really super close just from coming to things and attending things. And maybe you've wondered that at some point in your life as well. Maybe you've come to church over and over. Maybe you were taught to come to church every single Sunday without fail, unless you're deathly ill, because of the power and the importance of fellowship. But sometimes you wonder, how powerful is it really? I don't understand. I'm just going to go sit in a room next to a bunch of people. Somebody's going to talk. Maybe somebody else is going to talk. Somebody's going to pray. And I'm going to leave. And maybe you've seen other things that you've done in the church that similar way at different times. And you may wonder, is this all there is to it? I mean, is this as good as it gets? Should I be satisfied with this? And my answer after all these years to you is no. No, you should not be satisfied with that level of friendship. And the reason is, I'm going to take you to a place, actually it's a place in Ecclesiastes, not Proverbs, where Solomon describes close friendship and really just puts it all on the table. And these things that he's going to say about friendship, they aren't really going to be like, oh, wow, I never imagined that a friend might do something like that. It's not going to be that kind of revelation. But the revelation will come when you look at your own life and ask, where do I have that? Because I'm not really sure I do. I'm not really sure I have that level of friendship. And if I should have that level of friendship, well, how come I don't, and where do I get it? And so just bear with me as I walk through this little piece of Ecclesiastes. Solomon, this incredibly wise individual, talks about fellowship. And he says this, he says, two are better than one because they have a good return for their work. That's simple, right? Two people working together is better than just one person working on their own in a room and another person working on their own room all by themselves in a room someplace separately. And in modern terms, we call that synergy. How many times have there been things that you needed to do that were very important, you really could have used a second pair of hands for. You really, really would have done better. You would have been done faster. You would have done a better job in the end if you just had, at a key moment, the right person to just be helpful, to be there and be committed to what you were doing for just even a few minutes sometimes longer, sometimes a week or a month or something like that. How many times has it popped up in life where it would have been so much better to have somebody there and to have synergy with, to get more bang for your buck, to get more for your energy, for your thoughts, for your time? It would have been better if you'd had somebody to pop in and just give their 2 cents about what you were working on, even if they didn't have the time to jump in and get their hands dirty themselves. Sometimes it could make such a difference. And there are often times like that in life. You could probably think of some now. Maybe you could think of some times when people really did come into your life in that way and really, really give you a boost at just the right moment and make all the difference. Solomon says, remember this. Remember this. It's simple, but it works. It's important. And you need to see that that's what a good friend does. That's what friends really are. Okay? He goes on to say, if one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man, pity the person who falls and has no one to help him up. I don't know how many different ways there are to take a fall in life. You know, maybe you have serious convictions about certain areas of life and you keep falling into the same temptation cycles over and over and over again, and you go down, and when you go down, you stay down. You don't try anymore. You're starting to lose hope. You start to think that it's all pointless. Things happen to people that are completely out of their control. Not just our temptations we give into, but things like health stuff that happens, sickness, things like losing jobs or losing opportunities or betrayals. Sometimes it's somebody else's fault. Somebody's chosen something that actually gives us a gut punch or a kidney punch, whichever you like best. And sometimes that happens. I mean, who hasn't had something like that happen, where you take a fall, you take a hit, and you just get discouraged. And then if it goes on long enough, you stay down. Solomon says, if you are a person, or if you see a person who is taking a hit but has nobody in their life to come in and grab them and grab their hands and help them get back up, you should pity that person. That's actually a really bad deal. You wouldn't want to be that man. That's actually terrible. It's sad. I don't know what you would call it, pathetic maybe, but you don't want to be in that kind of a position. It's that bad to be down and have nobody around you. Some of you have had experiences like that where you've taken a real hit from life somehow, either your own choices or somebody else's, and you stay down for a while, and it just seems like maybe it's better to stay down. You give in to discouragement and hopelessness and kind of wallow around down there, and you wonder, maybe I'll never really feel good about life again. Maybe I'll really never get back in the action again. Maybe I'll just let it all go. That's a terrible place to be. That's a terrible place to be. You don't want to be there. And he's saying, if you've got somebody, a real friend, a friend will jump in there and get you back up quicker. Because that's what friends do. They get you back up and in the game quicker. That's important. Hold on to that. Solomon doesn't stop there. He says, also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? That's a great question. Now, Solomon's talking about being in the desert, that he was from, the desert, dry, arid areas that he was in. And, of course, as you know, at night, the temperature drops like a stone. It's hot in the day, but then it drops at night, and it's hard to keep warm. And he's talking about a situation where, if you've got a couple of guys working together or soldiers out in the field, you can actually, if you can sleep in the same sleeping area and huddle up, you actually have a chance to keep warm enough to stabilize and be okay. And he's saying, how can it be that one person can keep warm alone? Well, that's an interesting metaphor. Can you imagine being in a place in life where it's just really hard to stay stable, to keep your thoughts in order, to stay encouraged? I mean, can you imagine a time like that? Maybe that's you right now. he's saying it's so important to have a person, a friend, okay, a friend that would actually help you stay stable, to stay encouraged, to stay mentally, fit, and to keep going, and to boldly charge on. He's saying that can make all of the difference if you have a person like that in your life. Then he goes on and he says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. What he's talking about here is having a person that will help you stand your ground. His picture, of course, is of a couple of guys out in the field in a military situation, and on their own, as individuals, they probably don't stand a chance. They get, in some kind of a bungle, and things get bad, and they get separated, and out there alone, you're probably done for. You're probably going to get taken down one way or another, no matter how good you are. But he says if 2 guys are together, their chance of being able to defend themselves and come through this thing just skyrockets. It's way, way up. They really have a fighting chance. And then he goes on to say, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So that's to say 2 is good. With 2, you've got a fighting chance. With 3 people as friends, 3 people, that's powerful. That's better. That's way better. It's not easy to take down 3 good friends. It's really, really difficult. No matter what you've got, very difficult to get those guys to buckle. And how many times have you been in a place where you had a conviction about something, or maybe you were just doing a good thing. You were convicted in doing a good thing, and then somebody said something or came against you, and you were attacked in some way, or maybe you just got incredibly discouraged. Somebody said, some terrible thing in passing, and you're so tempted to just say, you know what, if this is how it's going to be, it's not worth it. I'm giving up. And he's saying, look, if you've got a friend, somebody who will be there in it with you to help defend you, help you to stand your ground, it's going to make all the difference. You've got a chance of getting through whatever it is. And if you have 2 good friends in it with you, that's amazing. It's going to be next to impossible to take you down. That's power. That's power. That's power for stability. Solomon says with friends are going to actually help you go further than you could go. They remove the ceiling of your life. They make it possible to do things that you couldn't have done on your own. He also says that friends get you back up quicker after you take a hit. They don't let you stay down. That's not what friends do. He's saying friends will help stabilize you and help keep you encouraged. Encouraged. That just means you're fit to keep going. You're mentally in it. You're fresh. You're bold. You're courageous. Even though you have things coming against you, a good friend will help you. Through that time. And lastly, he says, friends will help you stand your ground. Friends will help you stand by your convictions and keep going and defend you and ward off things. Friends can see things coming that you may not be able to see because they have a different perspective, because your nose is too close to the painting and you can't see the big picture. A good friend can see your back, can watch your side. That's important stuff. That's powerful stuff in life. How many times would it have been better to have a friend in your everyday life in the past few years? I mean, it's powerful. And maybe you do have a good friend or 2. I'm really glad for you if you do. But it's so common for people today to be short on close friends. We have a lot of acquaintances and we have a lot of networking ability, and we are very well known sometimes. We can even become popular, but that's not the same as having close friends. Not the same as having what Solomon is describing here. If you can get to what Solomon is describing, that is amazing. And that's actually exactly the kind of lifestyle that I believe that Luke wrote about when he first described the early church, and the things that Paul, the apostle, wrote about when he was describing how we should live closely with one another. These are the exact things that these guys wrote about and that Jesus said was the goal for the church. Yeah. So, the problem isn't knowing what's good in a friend. I mean, we can look and read this and be inspired, like, yeah, friends are powerful. I want to have friends like that. That's the kind of lifestyle I want to lead, where I know I have people I can count on throughout anything. That's amazing. That's usually not where the rub is. The rub is, well, how do I get from where I am to that place? Because I do a lot of the things I'm supposedly, going to benefit from, and I attend meetings and I go to things, and somehow or another I keep doing all of these things in order, and I don't really get to that place that I want to get to where I have this. I mean, is something wrong about me? And one of the things that I've seen as a pastor over and over and over again is people coming into a church situation, like a service or a group or some kind of volunteering event or special holiday thing, and they come to these things because it's been told to them, this is the kind of thing that you need to do in order to make connections and get to be in a place like this where we've been talking about. And they come and they come and they come, and it's like everybody who comes has the same concept. I'm going to come here and somehow friends are going to be delivered to me from the sky or something. These relationships are just going to kind of fall out, or maybe there's a bag of friend popcorn that I'm going to be able to throw in the microwave when I get home, and instantly I'm going to have friends or something. And the problem is, the truth is, friendships like the ones Solomon is talking about are built on time, and they're built on trust. And those are two of the things that we are the most reluctant to give up or to put ourselves out there and risk. We are so hesitant because of things that have happened to us in the past. We've been burned, we've been disappointed. We thought one person was going to turn out to be a great friend, and it turns out they weren't really that interested. They were busy. They didn't have it in them to give up that level of trust and time. All kinds of things come against us and happen. But the most important thing that I can tell you is that friendships, and you know this, friendships aren't gotten. You can't go get a friendship. You can't buy them, for sure, but you can't just go pick one up from somebody. You can't do that. Friendships actually have to be built over time. And trust comes as you build that friendship, as you build that relationship over time. The trust is built and built and built higher. But every single step of the way, there is a risk that you have to take. Sometimes I look at it a little bit like playing poker, where you sit around the table with 2 or 3 guys and you've got chips, and everybody's, putting in a chip as they're willing to take the next level of risk because they think it's worth taking that next level of risk. And I see a lot of relationships as being built that way. Actually, I see pretty much every relationship being built that way. If you looked at a prospective friend that someday you may trust a lot, and you don't really know them very well, and they could say the same for you. A lot of times friendships start by saying, you know what, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to put this chip on the table. This chip, here's the chip. I'm going to invite you to something. Maybe it's very, very small. At the beginning of a poker game, you don't just heave all of your chips into the table. You put in a few chips of lesser value as you get started, because that's conservative, right? So you might say, hey, I'm inviting you to so-and-so after church. You got anywhere to go to lunch? Come on, let's go to lunch. I know I just met you. You seem cool. Come on, we'll talk more. And of course, the other person on the other side of that says, okay, all right, that's a little risky, okay, because I might not like you, or you might not like me, or when you hear a little bit of my story, you might not know. So, the other person has a moment where they say, am I willing to take the next step? So they'll do something like, okay, I'll see your invitation to Wendy's after whatever we just attended, and I'll raise you telling a little bit about my story. And of course, the other person on the other side says, okay, all right, I'll see you're telling a little bit about your story, and I'll raise you an actual telling a little bit about my story. And you know what? I feel so confident, I'm even going to throw in just a little bit of transparency to see how you deal with it. I'm going to tell you a little bit of something that I'm not super proud of about myself, but something I'm struggling with, I'm dealing with, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my progress in that area and just see. And of course, the other person, if they're ready to take it up to the next notch, they say, you know what? All right, I see your transparency, and I'll raise you a little transparency myself, and I'll raise you. I'm actually going to commit to praying about whatever it is that you're going through on an ongoing basis. Whoa, okay, you know, this game just got intense. And it doesn't always happen, you know, quick and moves like that. Sometimes it does. But that's not to say that it can't go further and faster than you imagine, because most of the time it's actually a lot better and a lot faster as we are willing to take little risks like that to you know, head further to the goal, which is to have people that I can trust and vice versa that can trust me. Sometimes our problem is that we're coming into situations in life looking for people who are ready to be friends and be great friends to us, and we're just holding this very high standard. But the reality is there are many people in your life, maybe people in your life now, right now, who would make incredibly good friends, but they still need somebody to kind of be the initiator. They need somebody to initiate the next level. Maybe they're at a certain level of trust with you and you with them, but in order to go further and farther, somebody has to be the initiator and jump the risk level up a little bit so that they can have a chance and a way to respond to that and to bump it up themselves and to raise the bar of the friendship. I'm not saying people should just give up on their friends if they don't have great friendships. I think people need the chance to become the great friends that they were intended to be, and it starts with you initiating that level. I heard somebody say, I think at a youth conference once, do you want to be a thermometer or a thermostat? A thermometer just reads the temperature that's already in the room. A thermostat reads the temperature in the room and then makes a determination if it should be higher, then it sets the bar higher. That's what a thermostat does. And I think that you could take that to heart in friendship all over in the church. If you're in a service, or if you're in a group or whatever, you should not expect friendship to happen unless somebody is willing to bump up the standard and raise the level of risk and put themselves out there a little bit in order to see something new happen that hasn't happened yet. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I'm going to see you again next week, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the nitty-gritty of putting ourselves out there and taking risks and being wise in taking those risks. You know, not everybody is going to be an amazing friend at the end of the day or the end of the year. Not everybody is going to come up to your hopes and dreams, and we need to use a little bit of wisdom in how we go about that. So that's what we're talking about next week. I'll see you then.